house stood on a hill overlooking the town of Blackwood Creek, a skeletal silhouette against the perpetually gray sky. They called it the Blackwood Manor, but the locals knew it by another name, the House of Whispers. It had been empty for as long as anyone could remember. Its windows like vacant eyes, its history a tapestry of tragedy and rumor. My name is Ethan, and I'm a paranormal investigator. Or as my friends call me, a professional ghost botherer. I'd heard the stories, of course. Tales of disembodied whispers that drove people mad, of shadows that danced in empty rooms, and of a family that vanished without a trace a century ago. For me, it wasn't just a story, it was an invitation. Armed with my usual gear EMF meter, a full-spectrum camera, and a sensitive audio recorder, I pushed open the groaning front door. The air inside was thick and cold, carrying the scent of dust, decay, and something else. Something faintly sweet, like wilting flowers. The silence was heavy, a physical presence that seemed to press in on me from all sides. I started in the grand foyer. Moonlight filtered through the grimy arched window, illuminating a grand staircase that spiraled up into darkness. Dust motes danced in the pale light like tiny, restless spirits. My EMF meter remained silent. I called out, my voice sounding small and foreign in the vast space. Is anyone here? My name is Ethan. I mean you no harm. I just want to hear your story. Only the creaking of the old house answered me. I moved through the downstairs rooms, a parlor with furniture draped in white sheets like slumbering ghosts. A dining room with a long, dust-covered table set for a phantom feast. And a library where books rotted on their shelves, their stories turning to dust. Nothing. No spikes on the meter, no anomalies on the camera. It was disappointingly quiet. I began to think the legends were just that, legends. As I made my way to the second floor, a floorboard creaked above me. I froze, listening. Another creak, closer this time. It wasn't the house settling. It sounded like footsteps, slow and deliberate. My heart started to pound a little faster. Hello, I called out, my voice a little shakier this time. The footsteps stopped. The silence returned, but now it felt different. It was charged, expectant. I continued up the stairs, my hand gripping the wooden banister. The wood was cold, unnaturally so, and I could have sworn I felt a faint vibration under my palm, like a low, inaudible hum. The second floor was a maze of bedrooms. I entered the first one, which must have been a child's room. A faded rocking horse stood in the corner, its painted eyes seeming to follow me. A small, delicate music box sat on a dresser. I reached out and gently lifted the lid. Instead of a cheerful melody, a series of discordant notes tinkled out, a broken, mournful tune that made the hairs on my arms stand up. I quickly closed it. That's when I heard it for the first time. A whisper. It was faint, like the rustle of dry leaves, right beside my ear. I couldn't make out the words, but the sound itself was filled with a profound sadness. My audio recorder was running, and I checked the levels. A spike. I had caught it. Adrenaline surged through me, a mix of fear and excitement. I moved to the next room, the master bedroom. It was larger, with a four-poster bed dominating the space, its curtains torn and hanging like cobwebs. As I scanned the room with my camera, a shadow darted across the far wall. It was too quick, too defined to be my own. It moved from the corner of the room and vanished behind the bed. I held my breath, my eyes glued to the spot. The whispers started again, this time from multiple directions. They were all around me, overlapping, a chorus of sorrowful murmurs. They were still indistinct, but the feeling they conveyed was unmistakable. Despair, loss, and a deep, gnawing loneliness. The temperature in the room plummeted. I could see my breath misting in front of me. The EMF meter in my hand screamed to life, its needle jumping wildly into the red. It was happening. The house was waking up. "What do you want?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "What happened to you?" One whisper grew clearer than the rest, a woman's voice, soft and heartbroken. "He took them. Took them all." Chills ran down my spine. "Who took them?" I pressed. "Where did they go?" The whispers swirled, growing more agitated, the voices overlapping in a frantic cacophony. "Forgotten. We are the forgotten ones." Suddenly, the door to the bedroom slammed shut with a deafening bang, shaking the entire frame. I jumped, spinning around. The doorknob was an old, ornate brass one. I rushed to it, twisting and pulling, but it wouldn't budge. I was locked in. Panic began to set in, a cold, tight fist clenching in my chest. I started pounding on the door. "Let me out!" The whispers laughed. It wasn't a joyful sound. It was hollow, cruel, and full of malice. It was the laughter of something that fed on fear. Then the whispers changed. They weren't just sad anymore. They were angry. Yet out they hissed, the voices sharp and venomous. "This is our house. You are not welcome." A force slammed me against the wall, knocking the wind out of me. My camera clattered to the floor. I slid down the wall, gasping for air, my head spinning. The sweet smell of wilting flowers was overpowering now, cloying and sickening. In the darkness, I saw shapes begin to form. Not just shadows, but translucent figures, shimmering at the edges of my vision. A tall man with hollow eyes, a woman clutching her chest in grief. And two small children, their faces pale and their eyes wide with terror. The forgotten family. I scrambled for my camera, fumbling in the dark. I needed to document this. As my fingers closed around it, the rocking horse in the child's room next door began to rock on its own, its rhythmic creaking a terrifying counterpoint to the hissing whispers. The music box began to play its broken tune again. Louder this time, its discordant notes drilling into my skull. The figures in the room drifted closer. Their hands outstretched, their mouths open in silent screams. The man's voice, now clear as a bell, echoed in my mind, not my ears. "You will not forget us. You will stay. You will become one of us." His face was inches from mine, his eyes black pits of endless despair. I could feel a crippling cold seeping into my bones, a lethargy that made my limbs feel like lead. They weren't just trying to scare me. They were trying to drain me, to absorb my energy, my life. This wasn't just a haunting. It was a trap. The House of Whispers didn't just hold spirits. It collected them. My survival instinct kicked in, cutting through the fog of terror. I wasn't going to be their next forgotten one. With a primal yell, I threw my heavy EMF meter at the window. It bounced off with a dull thud. The glass was old and thick. I grabbed the only heavy object I could find, a small, ornate footstool, and hurled it with all my might. The glass shuddered. I did it again. On the third try, the glass shattered, exploding outwards into the night. Cold, fresh air rushed in, momentarily silencing the whispers. It was my chance. I didn't hesitate. I scrambled through the broken window, cutting my hands and arms on the jagged shards, and dropped onto the porch roof below. I rolled, ignoring the pain, and scrambled to the edge, leaping to the ground. I landed hard, my ankle twisting beneath me, but I didn't stop. I ran. I ran without looking back, the sound of 100 grieving. Angry whispers chasing me into the night, promising that I would never, ever forget. I never went back to Blackwood Creek. I developed the footage, and what I saw still haunts my dreams. The figures are there, clear as day, their faces contorted in eternal agony. The audio is even worse. When I isolated the whispers, I could finally understand them. They weren't just random words. They were the names of every person who had ever disappeared in that town. Repeated over and over, a ghostly roll call of the forgotten. My name was the last one on the list. Whispered by a child's voice, a chilling invitation to join them forever. Some places aren't just haunted, they're hungry. If you enjoyed Whispers of the Forgotten Ones, make sure you like this video. Drop a comment telling me your favorite creepy moment, share it with someone who loves horror. And subscribe to the channel for more chilling stories every week. Your support keeps the darkness alive.